as Wall Street continues to take a hit amid fears over the spread of the coronavirus, many investors are preparing for the worst. I do want to bring in author Jonathan Slate to talk about how businesses in the U.S. can prepare for and even thrive in a possible recession. Hi, Jonathan. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, Greta. Thanks for having me.
How specifically can businesses here in the U.S. prepare for a possible economic downturn?
Well, so what we want to see is that businesses really rock the recession if we do happen to have one. The first thing that we're recommending is that businesses get ready by assessing where they're at right now to benchmark themselves to see how prepared they are. You know, answering questions like, do you have a written recession plan? Do you have a line of credit or debt available so that in a recession, you're ready to rock?
You talk about preparing for that possibility of a recession. In your book, you talk about 5 questions that businesses need to ask themselves to assess if they're prepared. What are those 5 questions?
Well, the first thing that I mentioned already is that we do want you to assess where you're at and get a good benchmark. We've done a lot of research on businesses, have thousands of responses to what we're calling our recession readiness assessment. It measures companies from 0, not at all prepared, to 100, which means that they're looking forward to a recession. And what we're seeing is that the average business leader is putting themselves at a 38 right now. Once they've assessed where they are, then we want business leaders to tune up their business, get ready personally, get their business ready for a potential downturn, and then prepare to race to accelerate through the recession. And the last thing is to ask yourself, do you have an emergency brake? You know, if the recession hits, if you're in a downturn and you see your business drop to 90% of its usual volume, what cuts would you make? If you saw it drop to 80%, what would you do? To 70, to 50%? Want business leaders to make those decisions now in the cool, rational light of day, as opposed to in the heat of the moment when everywhere they're announcing recession and people panic and make poor decisions.
In your book, you talk about how entrepreneurs can actually thrive and even create wealth during tough economic times like a recession. Can you explain that a little more for us?
Yeah, so we didn't want to write the book to just regurgitate kind of the common wisdom on recessions. A lot of the time you read that you should just cut overhead and fire people and try to survive a recession. What we're thinking is that it's a big opportunity. Recessions really only come about once every 7 to 10 years. We know we haven't had one in going on 11 years now. And there's opportunities to buy assets for cheap, to buy competing businesses that maybe didn't watch the program today, that didn't prepare for a recession. And so with all those opportunities, that's why we think companies can look forward to a recession.
The underlying U.S. economy remains strong right now despite the sell-off on Wall Street. But if a Democrat were to win the presidency, we do run the risk of a possible downturn as, you know, they change economic policies going from Republican to Democrat. How can businesses weather the possibility of higher taxes and lower investment here in the U.S.?
Great question. So right now, the economy is so strong. President Trump and his policies have done a great job of making sure that we are in a strong economic environment. And like you mentioned, we never know where the next recession will come from. So in the presidential election, if we do change parties, that could shock the economy. What's going on right now with the coronavirus could be a shock to the economy. All of these geopolitical events could be the straw that breaks the camel's back and puts us into a downturn. The whole idea with Rock the Recession is that regardless of what puts us into a recession, that business leaders, business owners are prepared because they've put together a plan beforehand so that when we do see a recession, they can just execute. They can break the glass on their plan, pull it out, and just get to executing instead of spending time trying to figure out what to do, like so many businesses will probably be doing when we're in an official recession.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.